Hi everyone, welcome to Protective Diet Education. This is lesson number 181, and tonight's lesson is titled Keep It Out and Keep It Off. How to easily maintain optimal health and your slim, ideal body weight. This is all about how did you get to your goal? How did you get there? You got there by removing certain things out of your diet and adding certain things to your diet like fruits and vegetables and whole grains and all of the good food that we eat within protective diet recipes. And you reverse disease, you slim down, very trim. You're PD for life. You're celebrating. You're saying, this is it for me. I finally did it. I achieved my goals. Or maybe you're just getting started and you're 30 days in and you've had your aha moment and you're like, this is working, this is incredible. Or you're 3 months in, or you're 6 months in, or you're a year in, or some of you are just like Jerry and I and almost over 5 years in now. And or you're at 4 years, almost at 4 years if you started Protective Diet Education with us when we started our first broadcast, which is coming up soon in a couple months, and that'll be 4 years. And Jerry and I are just over 5 years now. And sometimes I have to remind myself why I don't include certain ingredients in my diet, such as avocados, nuts, oils, sugar. I don't let things slip in when there's a new vegan product on the market. I'm not running out to the store to buy it because it's vegan. And you're at this point in your practice when sometimes these things might start calling to you. You are in the swing of it. You've stocked your protective diet pantry. You love preparing meals in your organized workplace for wellness. You love it. You're loving the lifestyle. You're going along and everything's great. And I really wanted to add something to tonight's class to help you to better relate to me. Maybe you're new to the classroom and you don't know my entire history of weight loss and disease reversal, which is on our website. It's my journeys on there, everything that I've gone through up until this point. I think I need to do some updating to it since what I've gone through in the last year. But today I went out to the store and I bought a pair of jeans that were in my largest size, which was a 22, a woman's size 22. And I put them on for you and for myself. And I'm gonna stand up and show you in a minute, in the dressing room, I had a pretty emotional time in there. I couldn't believe that Julie Marie was this size at one point. And I brought them home and I showed them to Jerry and I said, Jerry, where did it go? Where did it go? It just basically melted off, I guess you could say. And I wanted to show you this to show you, maybe it'll help you understand the struggle that I was going through with my body and with my health due to my diet. And then I shed the weight. I went vegan and I still maintained this weight. I lost about 20 pounds, so I slimmed down a little bit. And then I started to gain it back again. And I got down into about a snug size 14. And then I had to really start exercising. And that's when I fit into these jeans.
Wowee, Julie, what a great visual, CJ said.
That's when I fit into these jeans, and I met Jerry. And actually, these jeans, I saved them because these are a size 8, the ones I have on here. And these were the jeans that I wore the week after I met Jerry. We went on a 125-mile bike ride that week, and we went to Vegan Mania, and I had these jeans on. And I remember these jeans were like my gauge. Oh, I gotta back off the vegan meals out, the oil, the nuts, when these would start to get tight, because I wasn't quite PD yet. I was eating healthy, but restricting. And when I was wearing these jeans, I have to tell you, I was taking 7 spin classes a week. And I wouldn't miss a single class because then they would be tight and I would restrict my my calorie intake so that I could include sugar, oils, nuts, and avocados. I was restricting them, but I was still including them and craving them. And Jerry and I were still on the sugar wagon. We were always craving sugar. Then I eliminated the oils, the fats, and the sugar, everything. I was totally PD. And I was eating as much carbohydrates as I possibly wanted. Like, I overconsumed my chips. I wasn't doing mindful eating yet. And I fit into these. These are my size 6 jeans that I bought after I moved here to California. And this was before my mindful eating practice. But I was in a comfortable 6. I fit in every 6 that I picked up from the store. And now,
you were very proud of yourself. You were very happy.
I was very happy in this 6. I could eat whatever I wanted. I was also including wine in my diet and eating the 4th meal that followed after the wine. And then I slimmed down after my mindful eating into a very comfortable size 4. And this happened quickly when I stuck to the mindful eating. My pants are all bunched up now after being in all of those layers of pants. I can't believe I can fit all of those pants on my body. But now my 4s are starting to get loose on me, I'm noticing, and I fit in a size 2 in the store when I went shopping today. So it also depends on the brand, but I really haven't. The kind of interesting thing is from the size 8 being so snug and tight and cutting out the oil, the avocados, the nuts, and the sugar, I was able to eat more starches and feel more satisfied and less restricted. I didn't have to measure. And I didn't have to exercise at all to get into those size 6s and have them fit comfortably and not restrict my food anymore. There was no more of the struggle of measuring out food or being concerned if I ate how many slices of banana bread. No, there was none of that. Jerry and I polished off a banana bread in one day, and there was never any thought about it. I was in a very comfortable size 6, and I was not exercising to maintain my weight. And now that I've practiced the mindful eating, I think back and I'm like, well, that was glorious that I could be in a size small and a 6 and be comfortable and never concern myself about how much I was eating or not. Then I started the mindful eating practice, and in the beginning it was uncomfortable. I had to pay attention. Was I full? Was I really hungry? Was I overeating? Was I eating past full? Yeah, most of the time I was, and I was enjoying myself. But then after I followed through with the mindful eating practice, I really started feeling my natural calorie tracker, and now I'm comfortable stopping at full and satisfied. I'm uncomfortable over consuming voluminous food. So now I'm in a really comfortable place again where I feel full and satisfied with less food. Sometimes I'm a little disappointed that I can't go back for seconds, not because I don't want to, but because my body is actually saying, no, I'm done, I'm full, I'm good. So that's a really neat thing that's evolved for me, come from doing the mindful eating practice. It is definitely an optional practice. As you can see, you can get down to a very lean size small and be very comfortable and slim, considered slim, without ever concerning yourself about your portion sizes. But for that vanity weight, or to reduce your body fat, to reduce your risk of cancer and all of these things, we found lowering the body fat, it's beneficial. That mindful eating practice is there for you. And that's something to visit after you've gotten down to your single digit sizes, after you're ready for it. It's not something that you need to do within your first year or two on a protective diet unless you want to, unless you feel like you mastered everything and you're comfortable. But I just wanted to share that to help everyone relate better to where I'm coming from. I'm not sitting here telling you what to eat and what not to eat, not having experienced all of these challenges and all. I wish I had pants to show you, but I donated them all. I kept a few special pairs that really were significant to me buying them, or things happened in them, and I kept them to show you, but I wish I had the transformation from the size 22 to the 8, because there was a long time that I was in that size 14 and a vegan, and here I am featured in this beautiful movie, Food Choices, talking about struggling as an obese vegan. And when I cut out the oil, the nuts, the avocados, the sugars, the food additives, everything just lined up, and I slimmed down, and it was fantastic. And I'm bringing this class to you tonight because I want to help you before you get derailed, or maybe you did get derailed, and I want to say, come on, come back to it, get back to it, because I want you to think back and have some memories of the struggle-free living on a protective diet before maybe you added some of these off-plan foods back in. Say you've decided that most of us, we want to hear good things about our bad habits, and someone told you, oh, it's okay to add avocados back into your protective diet. You can have some fats, healthy fats, good fats, they're good for you. Or Ben and Jerry's came out with the latest vegan ice cream, and I saw when that hit the market, many people in our community dug into that, and they went off their protective diet and started to struggle. And that we are vegan on a protective diet. We're eating a vegan diet, and maybe you've been doing it for a while now, and you're like, oh, getting into the whole vegan lifestyle. I'm very focused on the environment and cruelty-free living. We're protecting the animals, the environment, and our human health, starting with our human health, and all of it just lines up. It's all in harmony together. And sometimes when we're doing that, we get into the whole vegan lifestyle, and then a new vegan product comes out, and we're like, oh, well, it's vegan. When I ate regular ice cream, that's really bad. That's animal products. It's got dioxin. It causes cancer. It's really bad. This is vegan. The worst thing in here is sugar, or the worst thing in here is coconut milk, high-fat coconut milk, or whatever they're making the latest vegan treat with. Or you find out that your Froyo store, your frozen yogurt place, is now carrying a weekly vegan flavor. How exciting! Well, wait a minute. How did you get to this point? How did you get to be craving free and your taste buds so sensitive and reprogrammed? That was because you weren't including these fats and sugars. And I just want to catch you before you dive into this area and then struggle like I did way back when I was in that size 8 that was tight, and struggling, working out to maintain a comfortable body weight and to feel good. I still had inflammation. I still had aches and pains. I was still struggling because I was keeping those acidic foods in my diet, and the cravings were out of control. So out of nowhere, your pants are snug and you've been practicing a protective diet. You're gaining weight. What's going on with me? I really want you to examine what you're doing before you start throwing the towel and say, this protective diet doesn't work for me, because I know it works. It works for me, and it works for way too many people in our community. For you to just give up short or get confused thinking that you are practicing a protective diet and oils are slipping in all too frequently when you go out to eat with your friends and you don't want to complain or send something back that had oil in it. Yes, Jerry?
Marcy, who would never even think about going on the Ben & Jerry's, she said that she looked at the ingredients and she's like, it doesn't even look like food. Ew.
Yeah, it's they put up, well, we've gotten so comfortable to eating so clean that take a look at some of those labels for those of you like Marcy and Maria and people that are here, and Cherie, people that are here in our community, in our classroom every week that have been practicing for the 4 years that we've been offering protective diet education. Look at those labels. It's appalling that people are eating this, and it's even more disturbing to me that my vegan friends, people that are so focused on caring for animals and our environment and everybody, and they want a healthier life. They know that eating a vegan diet has improved their health, but I want them to have everything, especially someone that's so conscious and aware of everything else around them. And here, some of these foods are sometimes like frankenfoods, we call them. They're made out of, things that are so far from nature because they had to replace ingredients to make them vegan. I'm not saying that standard American product ice cream is better than vegan ice cream, but I'm definitely saying that protective diet ice cream is the best choice when it comes to vegan ice creams for human health, so that we can continue on to help others, animals, and save our planet. So maybe you are reading studies to support your love of fatty nuts, coffee, oils, even a little bit of sugar every now and then, or wine, or things, and you're finding information that supports including these things in your diet. And this is very, very hard to read these studies and then say, well, I'm eating a protective diet, I can't have any nuts. But I really want you to look at these studies for what they are. Number one, these studies are done on someone eating a standard American diet. And don't you forget, you're in the top, 1% of 1% of people who eat a whole food plant-based diet. You are eating the least processed diet that we can on a whole food plant-based diet, and you're consistently doing it every day. And for many of you, for years, this is sustainable. So now you're going to throw in a handful of nuts which you removed in order to reverse your diabetes, in order to eliminate obesity, so you could take off those size 22 pants and never put them on again, or take off those size 12 pants and never put them on again, or so that you could run your marathon. You eliminated these nuts out of your diet to reprogram your taste buds, because you have fat receptors, and when you throw in that one nut or handful of nuts that's recommended by the study to improve your health, you are throwing in saturated fat and fats that taste creamy on your taste buds. And then when you go to eat French onion dip or any of our tofu-based creamy things that taste amazingly creamy, when you're not eating the fats in your diet and the oils, the nuts, it's no longer going to be received so beautifully and say, oh wow, this is delicious, and you are going to crave those creamy nut sauces on a vegan diet. You'll see people within the plant-based community and talk to other people in other groups. I know many of you are in other groups, and you'll see the struggle going on. There's way too much cashew cream sauce happening. And in a lot of other programs, their nuts are yellow light foods. There's green light, yellow light, and red light foods. We don't have any of those foods on a protective diet. You can eat whatever you want, whatever's on the website, as often as you'd like to. It's not going to cause you a setback in weight loss or disease reversal. The only thing I would, that's basically it. I mean, we don't have those restrictive behaviors. I don't want you counting or measuring or oh, I can only have breakfast brownies for breakfast on one day a week. No, that's not how we operate on a protective diet. I want you to have food freedom. I want you to be free of that struggle. And restriction is over with, and counting is over with, and measuring is not part of my life. As you could see, I easily slimmed down to that size 6 with consistent practice. You can't do it for 2 months or 3 months and say, I'm not losing any weight, I'm not there yet. You need to do it long term. It took me a while to get down to that 6, not very long, but it took consistent practice, and it took consistent practice to stay there. Also finding reasons to add coffee back into the diet. Why did we remove coffee out of the diet? So that you'd eliminate your food cravings. Coffee might help you with some whatever disease they studied, because coffee beans are beans. They have antioxidants in them. So go for black beans or white beans and make something delicious that's going to fill you up and eliminate your cravings, not boost your cravings for sugar. The oils, don't add the oils back in because you like to go out to eat. Figure out a way to order. We have many classes on how to order at restaurants in the archives. If you're struggling with that, meet me in the Saturday morning live coaching hour and I will help you personally if you don't have time to get through all of the archived classes. Finding reasons like this is vegan, or I don't want a special order at a restaurant. This is not going to help you to get to your goal or maintain your goal. Like I said, we like to hear good things about our bad habits or off-plan foods, and these nutritional studies that support adding things into the diet are never beneficial on a protective diet as far as adding foods that are high in saturated fat, caffeine, or sugar, or that affect our taste bud reprogramming or boost our cravings for foods. They're not going to talk about that in the studies. They're focused on getting you to put those nuts into your diet or drink the coffee again. I also want to talk about sometimes when we get to our goal or we get in the flow of PD and things are rolling along and everything's working out great, we get bored. And we're so accustomed to always looking for the next diet. And this can be very challenging. If you could look up that lesson for me, Jerry. It's the 3 phases of recovery. And the second phase we mentioned in the 3 phases of recovery, when we're getting over being chronic dieters.
Class number 76.
76 is the 3 phases of recovery. The second phase is being in love with the search. And I see this over and over again. It's like it's been such a massive part of our life, trying to figure out a solution to lower our cholesterol, figure out a solution to lose weight, figure out a solution to just be healthier. And so when we finally find the way with protective diet and we stock our kitchen and everything's going good and we're like, this is really getting quite easy. I took a trip like Marcy did overseas, and she's navigating and she's sticking to her protective diet because it's important to her and it's given her so much in her life. And then you're like, well, now what do I do? You start looking for other ideas of things to do with your diet, whether it's fasting or restricting, or, oh, I need to lose that last 10 pounds, and you haven't tried the mindful eating so that you don't feel restricted. Or maybe if I start adding a little more good fats or healthy fats into my diet, plant-based fats, it will help me to stay fuller longer and I won't need as many carbs. And you start messing around with it. And I see this happen, and it's just, that's time to go find something fun. Go find something pleasurable to do. Get out of this whole diet mentality that this is your activity, because it no longer has to be. Make cooking fun a fun activity, but don't make restricting or trying to figure out how to lose the weight that you've already lost, or stick to a protective diet so you do. Go ahead, Jerry.
Maria is there. She said, now I'm to the point where I don't even think about it. This is just how I live.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Congratulations, Maria, and so many of you in this classroom. And check out the fat in relationship to diabetes lesson. It's one of the earlier lessons. If you could look up that diabetes lesson, Jerry. I didn't write down the numbers before class. Thank you. Fat blocks our insulin receptors, and in the early days when I was teaching with Plant Purity.
Class number 46.
46 is all about diabetes. In the early days when I was teaching with Plant Purity, even before Protective Diet, I was working one-on-one with people in my community that had diabetes. And when we removed the fats out of the diet, the diabetes, the blood sugars came down fast. The insulin reception was improved. When they said, I don't know why my sugars went back up, and I found out they were slipping almond butter on their toast in the morning, there it was. And they were like, really? That's affecting it? But it's almonds. And this was when the farther and farther they moved away from me, where we weren't meeting together once a week anymore, and they were then struggling. They were starting to follow other plant-based communities that were saying, nuts are good for you. So they slipped them back in, and then they were struggling again with their blood sugars coming up in the morning. And cholesterol, that's another one. The cholesterol's hard to get down when we're including nuts on a regular basis. So cut them out completely and it makes it easier. The sugar now is related to elevated cholesterol in studies, and also the sugar keeps us coming back for more. Oh, one vegan cupcake. Oh, but it's vegan and I'm at this vegan party and it's so nice they made these special cupcakes for me. Oh, it's gonna send you back to the store for more vegan treats, I promise. One vegan chocolate bar would do me in. So it's just not part of my practice. Give yourself the advantage, the PD advantage, by keeping that out of your diet for improved taste bud reception. This is now confirmed in science. I've been teaching this a long time. Before I started Protective Diet, through my workshops back in Chicago, and then studies came out confirming 2.5 weeks with no fats, the taste bud receptors for fats start to find the fats in the low fat foods, and they start to taste creamy and pleasing. And the longer we go, and I'm your example, and Jerry too, our fat-free foods taste amazingly creamy to us, and they keep evolving. And if there are oils in our food, we cannot palate them. So it's not something that if we went out to eat and there was oil slipped into a rice dish or at a potluck, we can't get through them. It's not appealing any longer. So the longer you remove these foods out of your diet, I call it handicapping your taste buds with the oils, where you couldn't even get through a meal that was off plan. So the taste bud reprogramming is a huge benefit of a protective diet. By keeping those foods out and staying on plan 100%, it's going to give you that advantage to stick to it even easier as time goes on. Without any measuring of food, we don't have to worry about these things. We eat a very low calorie, low fat, high fiber diet, so we don't have to worry about measuring things out ever. When you start slipping in these off-plan foods, guess what happens? You've got to start portioning things out, because one avocado is, 15 times the amount per serving of an avocado. You're supposed to have 1/16 of an avocado. Please, no one's doing that. So then you're going to have to cut back on your rice and restrict the volume of the food that you're eating. Think about the struggle that you had before you adopted a protective diet, and don't include those foods that caused you that struggle. I want you to have freedom around food. Don't revisit that struggle. So now I'm going to, if there's any questions about the subject of tonight's class. Oh, and one more thing. I have 3 questions to answer that came in, but one more thing is, you slim down. You've been eating a protective diet. You're feeling fantastic. You've got pep in your step, and that's when I recommend adding exercise. And you're doing great, and you hit the gym, and you're like, you know what? I want to take this to the next level. I'm going to hire a personal trainer. And the personal trainer gets all up in your head and says, you need a really premium, good vegan protein powder. It's going to help you to build those muscles, and it's going to help you lean down even some more. And just drink it in the morning, or just add it to your oats in the morning. If you don't do smoothies, no big deal. Just add that protein powder to your oats. or they'll work around your protective diet to help you include this protein powder. Well, the one thing that these trainers are not familiar with if they're pushing protein powders is that, vegan or not, the addition of protein into the diet, plant protein, pea protein, soy protein, these are isolated proteins. They always contain MSG or a related substance like MSG that causes food cravings. So first thing in the morning, you're taking this protein shake or protein addition to your oats that's going to help you feel fuller longer. They'll market it all different ways, and it'll be like this magical powder that costs you a lot of money. Might be even be organic, but it more than likely contains a food additive that you'll recognize, like natural flavor or sometimes citric acid. But for sure, if it has the word protein in it, any kind of isolated protein, pea or soy, or any protein, it's going to contain MSG and cause cravings. It will also tax your liver with foods the body can't recognize. This is an isolated protein. It's like taking the protein out of the pea, and then the fiber and the carbohydrates are tossed to the side. Our body does not recognize or utilize that the way it would if you ate a bowl of peas or some tofu for your soy protein. So eat those whole foods. Don't eat those frankenfoods, out of nature protein powders. Don't get caught up in that. So I wanted to mention that because a lot of times when we start to get healthy and we lean down, we get this pep in our step and we hit a whole new culture, the gym culture. And there's a lot of protein bars, powders, shakes, cookies, whatever they're going to give you. And it's all a bunch of baloney. You don't need it. There's plenty of vegan bodybuilders that are muscular and lean and build muscle fast when they make it part of their routine. It doesn't take much. Okay. So then I had a couple questions come in. One was from Darlene, and she asked about, she does well on her trips. She packs up what she needs and she goes on her trips. She sticks to her protective diet, but the night she gets home, she's exhausted. And she probably has to go to work the next day, and she's like, what am I supposed to do? All I want to do is order a pizza. I don't want to cook. Well, Darlene, I suggest pinning up a few of the easiest recipes on a protective diet that are pantry staples. Things you don't need any fresh ingredients for, because say your flight gets in and you live far from the airport and you don't get home until midnight and you're starving when you walk in the door. Butter noodles are 10 minutes away. Butter noodles, Jerry, that's what we have when we have nothing. Popcorn, when we have absolutely nothing. There's always something. Before you leave for your trip, make sure you stock up on some frozen veggies if you must, or some frozen spinach if you want to make some tomato cream sauce. That recipe is one of my favorites, and it's total pantry food. If you don't want to sit there and make gravy and wash a bunch of dishes, stick to the butter noodles. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was thinking about making sure you have some tortillas in your freezer so you can bake those up. And the reason I am adding this is because that's what Marcy did. She got back from a trip overseas.
Perfect.
Last night. She baked up some chips and had a can of refried beans and a handful of greens. That's what she
Great
did.
suggestion, Marcy. And also, if you don't even want to bother with baking chips and preheating the oven, just take the tortillas out of the freezer and warm them a little bit, either on the stove or in a pan or in your oven, just till they get soft, and put those canned refried beans in there. Always have those handy things, like Marcy, thanks for bringing it to my attention about the beans. That's something I often overlook. I always have them in my pantry just in case foods. And if you really wanted to set yourself up, you could set yourself up with some Hungry Man meals, I call them Hungry Jerry dinners, in your freezer before you left. But then you're going to have to wait for that to defrost. But that could be for your next day's meal. So you take it out and put it in the fridge. But to be honest with you, as long as I've been practicing a protective diet and the benefits that I've received eating this way, I will literally eat bananas and popcorn. Like, I'll stop at the grocery store. Jerry, where did we stop when I got out of the hospital on the way home? We stopped at the grocery store.
I thought you were going to say the drugstore.
No. We stopped at the grocery store to get fresh produce, to where when you're coming home from the airport, that might be in your plans to stop at the grocery store. If you're too exhausted, put it on your plan for the next day. And a lot of times when I travel, I come back a day early. And I'd rather miss a day of vacation to have a full day off when I get home in order to set myself up. And because this is what's most important to me. It's given me so much in my life and so many advantages eating this way and living this way, that if I did get up the next morning with nothing to take with me to work, I would have been all out of sorts. And I did that many trips that I would go to visit my mom, and I wanted to have maximum time with her, but she understood. I had to cut my trip a day short so that I could get home, or fly home earlier so that I had that afternoon. But
you said you had 3 questions?
I do. The other question was about flaxseed. It was asked in Protective Diet Living in our support group, and someone was saying, why don't you use flaxseed? I don't understand. Why do you only use chia seed? Well, there's two different reasons here. It could get confusing. I use chia seed. I use white chia seed most of the time in my recipes, so that to thicken vinaigrettes and things like that. I find it performs much better than flaxseed. The other reason, flaxseed to me has a fish-like flavor to it. To some people it does, to some people it doesn't. I opened the flaxseed package, and the first time I began working with it, it smelled like fish to me, so I swapped it out for chia, and I've been working with chia since I went vegan. It's what? I lose track, 13, 15 years? 13 years? Yeah, it's been a long time. I've been playing with chia seeds. So I use this to thicken everything. And I like to only have 1 seed in my pantry. I don't want you to have more products than you need to joggle around. But these perform much better.
Who taught you about the thickening agents of chia
My
seeds?
sister taught me about chia seeds thickening things because she put them in her smoothie, which is what I'm going to talk about not doing if you're on a regimen to lose weight. So she put chia seeds in her smoothie and blended it up, and it got thick. And she's like, maybe you could do this to make a salad dressing. And I was like, fantastic idea. And I went home in my kitchen and played around, and that's how we came out with the first oil-free vinaigrette, which was on plant purity, using chia seeds to thicken it. So Marilyn, she saved me with that, with the oil-free vinaigrettes, with that little tip. And I do not add chia seed to my oats. I do not recommend smoothies. I recommend eating your food. The reason I don't add chia seeds to my oats or flaxseed, this is the other reason. You can use flaxseed in your diet if you prefer that to make a flax egg, or a recipe calls for it, go for it. I found it to do little or nothing when I've added it to baked goods, so I don't do it. As you can see, my banana bread and my muffins, they don't have flax eggs. We skip that step. I want the shortest route to produce the best finished result, and I found I don't need it. But if you're adding flaxseed into your oatmeal, or if you're still having smoothies and you're putting that in there, what are you doing that for? We don't need to supplement on a protective diet. We don't need to add omega-3s to eliminate the risk of heart disease or reduce our cholesterol, or whatever reason you're adding them, because someone told you it was good for you. We don't need to supplement anything. And chia seeds and flax seeds, they're about the same caloric value. And to add a tablespoon, 60 calories of chia seeds to your oats, why don't you have 60 more calories of oats and make yourself feel a little more satisfied than adding something that's going to give you absolutely no satisfaction. So don't add it. That's why we don't add it in. I don't want to add calories to my diet that give me no pleasure or satisfaction. So that's why we don't include flaxseed. If you still have weight to lose and you're putting flaxseed on top of your oats in the morning or into your recipes because you heard they were good for you, cut them out, and I bet you're going to drop some pounds quick because it's just added calories for no reason. Then there was another question about the content of soy milk. So I personally use organic soy beverage. It's by Trader Joe's. It's just the least expensive organic soy milk in my area. And I always say, look for your best resource, save money, buy it by the case. Why not? You're gonna use it. Some of you find the West Soy to be the better priced product. You can buy it in the double-sized box. I think it's a 64-ounce box, and you get it for a better value than I do for this. So do that. There's a little bit of a difference, and there's also Eden soy, and that has a higher fat content. So on our support group, you were comparing, there was someone comparing soy beverage to West Soy soy milk. And they were saying, oh my gosh, the sodium content is higher in the Trader Joe's brand than the West Soy. And the fat content is higher in one than the other. The Eden soy is very high. And they all contain whole organic soybeans and water. And that's it. What's the difference? Are they adding salt to the product? No, they're not. They would have to list it on the ingredient label. The difference would be the concentration of soybean to water. So in the Eden soy, where there's a higher concentration of soybeans to water, they're using more beans per water mix, you're going to have a higher fat value because there's fat in soybeans just like there's fat in all beans. So that would be the difference. The sodium content goes up when the concentration or value is higher of soybeans than water. Now, the amount of sodium in here is a natural amount of sodium found in the soybeans, so nothing to worry about, nothing to concern yourself about. And don't even worry about the label on your soy milk as long as it only contains water, whole organic soybeans, and that's it. And the Eden soy milk, I don't use it because it's very expensive versus the Trader Joe's brand or the West Soy. And it's also higher in fat because it's more concentrated formula. And when I pour it into my tea latte, I can taste the fat, and it's not an enjoyable thing to me. So that's why I don't use it. You can use it. Some of you use it to make your yogurt. It's perfectly fine. That's not going to be a setback like an avocado or a handful of nuts would be. It's just soybeans and water. So if there's aren't any questions coming through, I'm going to sign off. Do you see any that I missed?
No, they're just talking about
they're talking about tortillas and having tortillas shipped, and
how a 1/16 of an avocado would be way too much. Yuck. By the way, Darlene said thank you for the answer to her question.
You're welcome. Yeah, Darlene's over the avocados because she's been on a protective diet for years along with us. So, and maybe she never even liked avocados to start off with, which is great. But someone was asking about the tortillas. Seriously, look around in neighboring towns or when you travel for an international grocery store that's going to have tortillas. I see many of you that are up in Northern California, and my mind's blown that you can't find tortillas because wherever there is a Mexican population, there is going to be tortillas. So there has to be tortillas, and one day I'm going to get up to Northern California and I'm going to find that little Mexican market if you don't find it before me, because I saw some of you talking about how you have to order tortillas by mail, and here in California you should be able to find them everywhere. But I know in some smaller towns, even within the Midwest, you just might need to travel to the next town over, and that might be a fun field trip to do. Google it, put it in the computer, look for fresh corn tortillas, and go on a field trip. Go to your nearest international market.
Go to your nearest restaurant and ask where they get their tortillas from. That's how we found the Lily Tortilleria, not from a restaurant, but from the grocer. We went to ask the produce guy where he bought his tortillas, and he told us to go to Lily Tortilleria.
Yeah, we asked a man that was in the produce department that managed the produce department. He was Mexican. Where do you buy your tortillas? What are your favorite brand? And that's how we found our tortilleria. So get friendly. Start asking. And could you look up the international class? It was the one with the jackfruit. A lot of people didn't watch that class on how to resource international markets and have fun going on field trips.
Class number 169 is cutting up ripe jackfruit.
but it also has more to
And
that title.
adventure.
Cultural adventure. What was it? Class
169.
169. Cultural adventure at international markets. Check out that class. That's one of the fun. That's one of my. I love going and finding a new market. And here in San Diego, we have every type of international market. And I'm always shocked when people are like, "You have an Asian market, or you have a Middle Eastern market," and they live near to me. I'm like, yes, you need to get out more and check these places out. It's like you landed off of a plane in the country that you are. It's like you're in their grocery store. It's so fantastic. And as much as I love to cook, it's so neat to get inspired by all of these ingredients. And maybe it won't be your thing, but you're gonna find a lot of our whole plant-based foods in these international markets, because that's what they started off eating in those places, and they haven't diverted far from it like we have here in the US. So talking about jackfruit and everything.
All right.
So I'm gonna sign off. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, and stick to your protective diets to keep.
There is a question that just came through.
Oh,
I have
okay.
a friend going to India. What kind of spices should I have? Should I ask him to get?
Oh my goodness. They have, if you pull up any of the recipes for any of the curries, you're going to find all of the different Indian spices. Anything that you don't recognize, like the cardamom pods, the green cardamom pods. If you don't have an Indian market near you, you could ask him to get these things. But to be honest, for him to carry all of these things back for you, you should be able to find them at any international market. If they really want to bring something back to you, though, check out any of the recipes for cumin seeds. These are some of the more unusual ingredients that you might not find in your classic grocery store, but you'll find in your international market. Cumin seeds, green cardamom pods. You can make the Indian rice. Indian spice rice is the recipe. Curry powders. There's all different kinds of blends. If you really like spicy food, you could ask them to bring you some chili powder, or now
One
chili
spoonful
powder.
for hot or for mild, 2 spoonfuls for hot.
Jerry's talking about, we were in an Indian market and I asked them if they had any mild chili powder, like the classic chili powder you buy in your regular grocery store that you put into busy day chili, just your regular old mild chili powder. And he looked
said
at me
yes.
so confused, but then he said, well, yes, 1 spoonful if you want it to be mild, 2 hot. Well, I brought this Indian chili powder home, and oh my gosh, I had never tasted anything like it. It's just ground arbol chilies, basically. It's just very, very hot. It's not like cayenne. It has a little more flavor, but it's hot. Turmeric. But see here, I'm getting more picky and picky about my spices. If I'm going to include turmeric in my foods, I buy the organic turmeric, and I get it at such a discount through our links on the shop through Frontier Organics, that I would just recommend ordering it if he does, unless he wants to bring you back presents. Go to any of the curry recipes and you're going to see the different listed ingredients.
All right. Thank you, Julie, for a great class.
Thanks so much, everyone, and stick to your protective diets to keep it easy and struggle-free and maintain optimal health and your ideal body weight for the PD advantage, everyone. See you on Saturday.
See you next week, guys. Thank you.